Real quick, happy Saturday. It's Jillian. So it's interesting how, I'm posting about receptors being bound with ligand strands that are drug induced, and they're messages from the different foods and drugs that people take, and then that influences transcription, which is how your DNA manifests. And so it's like I talk about the ayahuasca and what it does to your neurotransmitters and how it influences the biochemistry, like serotonin and dopamine and everything, to be brought forth more than it would be. And then how that would cause imbalances like neuropathologies, and also pot and all the different drugs that encourage dopamine release and serotonin release because you can't do it on your own. And then we're looking at foods and the food supply and how foods can also be a drug, because it's like, yeah, when you have imbalanced bodies, drugs and food can can compound your issues. And so that's why you have to do J juice no matter what. You already have an imbalance. If you're turning to drugs, turning to remedies, you're taking out organs, you're going in for operations, there is nothing in the food supply and in the drug world that's going to help you until you actually correct the foundation of the anomalies that are causing you to turn to foods as medicine. And since you can't get away from foods, because that's what the holistic allopathic industry does, they're like, oh yeah, you have a deficiency here or you have an imbalance here. Stay away from this food, demonize McDonald's, demonize this other food. And so then you're playing the same games people play when they take drugs. They either or don't take drugs. Oh, you gotta stay away from this drug because it's gonna do this to you, or you gotta take this drug because it's gonna do this to you. And why play that game? I mean, that's the whole point of Jelly Juice, is not to play the food and drug as medicine. And that's why the FDA is around, because they know they have many people in the population with imbalanced bodies, and they have to determine a relatively universal food and drug that will help most percentage of the population adapt to their environment. But yeah, there's always those exceptions. There's always somebody who's going to have an adverse reaction because the body is going to want to evolve. And then the person will then go apply some kind of food as medicine or some kind of drug to encourage hormones to come to surface or suppress hormones. And that's what agonist is when it encourages hormones to come to surface, which is what pot does. This is what ayahuasca does. It's what even certain foods do, like chocolate. And then there's certain drugs that will be an antagonist, which will then close the gates of your hormones. And then this is why then the doctors go in and prescribe you medication to block channels of minerals as well as salt. That's what, like lidocaine and certain antidepressants, they're sodium channel blockers. And so then you have deadening in those areas. And so, yeah, the only way for you to actually feel like you're alive and be alive is you have to actually feel something. And that is open up the ion sodium channels to allow life to get to the areas that you have been closed off from because of what you inherited, because your parents gave you some of these channel blockers, which is why you've inherited cancer, disease, and chronic illness, heart disease, and everything else, diabetes. And so even foods can be used as a drug. And so, yeah, I mean, I remember when I had hormonal imbalances, it was hard for me to eat meat until I was able to, but I still, because even eating foods that make you have an adverse reaction, if you do J juice, eventually you won't have the adverse reaction because the food will actually work for you. It won't work against you. That's why you have to understand J juice, is that you will allow the food supply and your environment work for you, not against you. You'll be able to adapt to whatever things are going on in the air. You'll be able to adapt to your 5G. You'll be able to adapt to whatever mandates that are going on in your community, and you won't be so politically motivated because guess what? You've balanced out your own biochemistry, but you have to feel to heal. And, if you continuously take drugs like cannabis and always going to your ayahuasca retreats thinking you're all spiritual, guess what? You are encouraging more hormonal imbalances. And people think it's all like, hoity-toity and so like, oh, I'm so cool because I go to these spiritual retreats, jumping into cold water, causing the body to react in such a way, cannibalize itself, because people are not retaining the nutritional energy to be able to regenerate. And that's why then you saw that article that I posted about the guy or the girl losing their teeth during COVID because their body is trying to evolve. It is now increasing autophagy, which is, yes, teeth are falling out. Remember a long time ago when someone was doing the J juice and the body's going through autophagy and the person already had a major rotting tooth? And so, yeah, it needed to come out because the body was sustaining some pretty imbalanced entities in its own, biochemistry. And so it needed to release that. And then the body is expecting that you stay on the J juice, you eat a very diverse food supply so you can regenerate those cells and potentially grow your teeth back. But what's going on right now with these viral strains that are very aggressive in people's evolution is that the body impacted by viral strains that's not used to is encouraging major maximum level evolution, but the body isn't regenerating cells. There is no cell replication going on because they're losing more than they're retaining from malabsorption. So that's why people are dying from COVID-19 is because they have not healed and sealed. They're taking their drugs. They're taking the therapeutics. They're jumping into cold water. They're playing with the ayahuasca, trying to get this spiritual awakening when really, what the hell? And then they're, pissed off at the government because they don't want to social distance and they don't want to wear a mask, which I really don't care. I have a mask. I've taken off and made it a single layer, took off the double layer, made a single layer, and it's mesh. And so, yeah, I'm able to breathe. So I don't really care. I'll do what I got to do. I don't mind social distancing. Actually, I kind of like it. So that way I can study and I can learn and I can write about what I'm learning and maybe give you guys a different angle to work from. So maybe you actually stay on the J juice. I mean, someone sent me a message today saying, yeah, I'm falling apart. I got off the J juice for 8 weeks and I feel it. Well, yeah, I mean, this virus is mutating. I felt it, but you know what? It's funny. My dog didn't feel it this time. She actually adapted to the new COVID environment, but I felt the changes. And yeah, I was probably tired. I would say I got brain fatigue a couple days ago. And I was only able to work from like maybe 5 to about maybe 9 in the morning. And then I had to take a nap. And then yesterday I was able to work from like 5 or 6 in the morning all the way to about 3. And then I'm like, okay, or 1. And then I had to take a nap. Today, I think I'm doing okay. I'm really just kind of chill. I'm not like super aggressive, like, like I was. And I'm not super under like, not excited. I'm just kind of like even. And I can see the logic behind what it is that J Juice is doing. So no matter what, I don't care who you are. You could pretend to think that you're eating the best food in the world, the most organic, balanced. No, but you have imbalances. And there is nothing in the food supply, nothing in the organic world, holistic world, allopathic world is going to help you in the long run when you haven't even fixed the root level cause. So some of you, yes, will die slower than others. Some of you will die faster than others because the amount of aggressive evolution on a body that doesn't have enough resources, the body's going to cannibalize itself. That's why people who are elderly are not surviving the COVID because the body is cannibalizing itself as it's trying to evolve. So when you only have, let's say you have 20% life in your body and the body is trying to evolve, guess what? That evolution, that amount of energy of the antibodies coming to surface because of a new virus is going to usurp most of the energy in the body. And this is when vital organs get compromised. And this is why people die from the COVID versus those that have a lot more mass, molecular mass, like in their fatty acids, muscles, bones. And so they're able to withstand, but they're still dying slowly. I mean, if they're not doing J juice, they're still dying slowly, but not as fast as someone who is like, 80 pounds fighting a disease. And so, yes, your weight, your predispositions, all of that do get taken into account and will allow you a longer death process than somebody else who weighs almost nothing, who has very little molecular weight, very little fatty acids, very little muscle mass. But yeah, they're full of like biochemical reactions because their personality is so huge, but their body is not able to back up the evolutionary process. So yes, people who are very slight, who weigh almost nothing, who have predispositions not doing J juice are not going to last very long in these aggressive environments because it is about cellular thermodynamics. how you utilize energy and heat and all of that. And then, of course, your habits, your spiritual, whatever, your religion, all of your different remedies, whether you're breathing all the time, or you're fasting, or you're a breatharian, or you're a polar dude, or you're a sauna girl, you're still increasing major energy that some of you can't afford to expend. So that's why you have to do the J juice regardless. And you can't play these games of like, oh yeah, well, I'll just, eat a balanced diet, eat a keto diet. Ketosis is, body cannibalization. And so, yeah, you need sugar. Fat has the same, but different atom structures, but the same compounds as sugar, sucrose, glucose. Okay, and I'm looking up, fatty acid compound, like chemical compounds versus saturated fat versus unsaturated fat chemical compounds, and then sugar, and then they're very, very, very similar, except for, hey Maria, except for the different atoms that bond them together, all the different covalent bonding. And that's what compounds are. They're covalent bonds of different molecules. Okay, and then that's what contributes the mass of the person. And so I would say that a couple of years, 5 or 6 years, 10 years ago, I was super, super skinny. And then 5 or 6 years ago, I definitely was bloated up, water weight and fat cells. And then when I did the J juice, then the salt and the nutrition help regulate my biochemistry to where I can regenerate cells, I could heal, and have enough on reserve. So when I do walk into different microbiomes, or when microbiomes come into my area, like a new virus that mutates, I'll be able to handle the evolution thermodynamically. That's what it all comes down to, is can you handle the energy to evolve? And do you have enough nutrients and energy within your biochemistry to evolve? And when the body steals from Peter to pay Paul, essentially cannibalizing your extremities to keep your vital organs going, that is The Walking Dead. Now, I'm not watching The Walking Dead now. Now I'm watching some very, very insipid, sticky sweet, something on Netflix called When Calls the Heart. And it's nice. I don't hear too much screaming in the background. I don't hear people going like, oh my God, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to scream. I have now a very just calm. It's like interesting what I watch in the background as I'm doing this stuff. I don't even listen to the words. I just feel the energy, but definitely starting to manipulate my book in a different way. I needed The Walking Dead, and that really gave me a lot of metaphors to use, because there's definitely a lot of parallels in The Walking Dead. The whole thing with be safe, you're safe, I'm safe, you got to feel safe. Oh my God. And then for the greater good, I mean, come on, there's so many messages in The Walking Dead. It's unreal, but you have to be able to withstand the gory violence of zombies being killed and all that stuff. And so now, my biochemistry is very, very calm, and I'm pretty calm. And so I don't want to have so much of that reactive background. Now I'm watching something that's so insipid, it's so sticky sweet, that it's like, okay, whatever. And then here's my dog, and she's just doing what she does. And she didn't have any kind of upgrade, a seizure or peeing in the bed at all. As her upgrade, she was able to upgrade to the environment without having any kind of reaction. So, that is a good sign to me, because I'm telling you, I went through, just the only thing that I felt as far as the COVID exposure is just extreme tiredness, a little irritability, as I'm sure you've seen, especially when I'm moving moving in and out of personalities and moods. My biochemistry is fluctuating. And when I remember like a week ago, I was so tired. My husband was messing with me and I needed to sleep. And then from that point on is when I knew I need. And then last night I felt I felt everything come to like the mucus and the antibodies. Okay. It came through my nose, and I'm blowing my nose, and that's it. I think I coughed a few times because I had a few mucus antibody stuff that the body was releasing. And it's because, yes, it's releasing. I had a few weird dreams too, and dreams of stuff from the past. And so, yes, the body is releasing the old microbiome and bringing in a new evolution. And so Sugar says, hi, Caroline. And so this is why the J juice is so important, is because you are constantly going to be upgrading until you're able to adapt to the current environment. And some of you have a lot of predispositions to deal with, which means that it's going to be a long journey, because not only do you have to adapt to getting your body up to par, but the environment is always changing. It's always going to, because of the fact that we have COVID, and then we're going to have the vaccines. Okay, now I'm not saying vaccines are bad or good. I'm just saying vaccines are going to cause more of a different environment that you're going to still have to adapt to, whether you get the vaccine or you're exposed to someone that got the vaccine. Okay, whether you wear a mask or not wear a mask, you have to be able to adapt to the changes in the environment, and there are going to be massive changes all the time. Massive changes. And there's going to be safety measures put in place as well that you're not going to agree with. Already they're implementing contact tracing. Governor DeWine is going to be, implementing some pretty draconian stuff because they can't seem to get ahead of the curve. Okay. Since I felt the COVID, just being tired for a week, I know others that are less than me as far as their ability to adapt are having a hard time. And the people across the street, which I showed that picture of an ambulance in front of her house. Again, she had an ambulance in front of her house a couple months back earlier this year. And then she had another scare of something, which then it translates into, me dealing with upgrading. And I know my husband's upgrading too, but he doesn't, say too much about any symptoms. He's pretty even keeled. But just so you know, you have to be able to handle the evolution. And it is about energy use. It is thermodynamics. Okay? And so right now I'm kind of doing the tedious part of this book, which is basically teaching myself and teaching all of you, some basic chemistry, and then how it's going to impact your biochemistry. Because yes, gravity, mass, force equals mass times acceleration. Yeah, mass has everything to do with force. Why people who are larger have more of a presence versus someone that's more slight. But then you can have a very large presence as far as your biochemical reactions, because your personality, because you're dying, like watching a dying star, it emits all this energy. We'll look on YouTube. There's a lot of dying stars out there. They're emitting all this energy and they're flailing about. Okay? And so, so I'm trying to bring the micro to the macro together and vice versa. So you see the connection with everything. And it's going to have to come at the subatomic level. And then, I'm going to have to demonize those that are drug addicts and those that are spiritual energy gurus that mess with their biochemistry and want others to mess with their own biochemistry, not understanding balance, wanting to mitigate pain through their hormone releases. And that's not the Julie Juice way. I don't condone that. I want people to feel even without manipulating their hormones, without taking agonists or antagonists to bind to receptors to produce a specific outcome. Deal with your pain. Deal with your issues. Support it with the right chemistry. But if you want to live, you're going to have to deal with J-Juice. If you don't want to live, then have fun in the drug world. Have fun in the energy healing world. Have fun in the holistic allopathic world, finding different ways to shorten your lifespan because you don't want to feel your evolution. But in the J-Juice world, you got to deal with it all on your own. You're not anyone's coach. You're not anyone's guru. I'm not anyone's coach or guru. Occasionally I'll give a few supportive, hey, yeah, good job. But that's it. There really is nothing that J-Juice world can really offer people except that we are a group of like-minded people that are dealing with our own evolution personally. We don't blame anyone. We don't lean on people too much. And we just report on our experiences without demonizing the whole protocol and the outcomes. Because no, evolution is not fun. It's downright painful, especially when you've devolved to such an extent and you've allowed your body to basically decay to such a level that yes, evolving and growing is painful. I'm not going to lie, I never did. But the outcome is amazing if you can stay with it. Some of you won't, some of you will. And then your potential is going to be astronomical. But some of you are riding the wave. Yeah, you have a few pounds on you. You can live off the amount of fat that you have, but I'm telling you, in this COVID environment, the therapeutics, all of your different remedies are going to usurp the energy out of your body. And you won't reverse your issues, you'll compound them. And then at the 11th hour, you're going to turn to J juice and you won't have the energy to handle the healing process because you've been anesthetizing yourself for so many years and you've conditioned yourself to remedy all of your evolutionary symptoms that J juice will be nothing more than a pain in your ass. And you'd be like, screw you, I'm going to go stick with my little cannabis, my little elderberry syrup, and my little supplements, my little MLMs, or my little breathing exercise, or jumping in a hot water, or sitting in a sauna. And then guess what? You'll see your issues compound. And then you'll be like, oh, well, J juice doesn't work. No, because you couldn't handle the energy it takes to actually evolve and apply the correct chemistry. And some of you are coming back to J juice, wondering if you can do it, and you're at the 11th hour. And I'm telling you, it's not guaranteed because you waited this long. And now you're waiting for your body to completely fall apart to now turn to J juice, thinking that you're going to be able to handle the evolution process. Now at more of a deficit. I'm going to say, I hope you do, but I don't have a lot of faith that people are going to stick with it unless they get out of their own way. And I know who is serious and I know who isn't. I know who treats J juice as a fad and I know who actually treats it seriously. And so that's why I don't do any consults. I don't really answer questions. You either do it or you don't do it. It's just food. That's it. There is no consult to be had. I can't do it for you. And so if you want your kids to have half a chance in this next world, fucking get on the J juice. Stop playing games. Stop playing your activism. Stop being an anti-vaxxer because they ain't doing nothing for you or your children, and start rebuilding your body from the ground up. Or else, what the hell are you doing? You're just wasting energy. That's all I gotta say. Have a good day.